What's up, party people, and welcome to another episode of Where Does Food, the food history podcast that tells you about the history of food and sometimes beverages. I'm your host, Elle, and with me today, no, not Maurice Moonshine, but it's Tim. Say hello, Tim.
Woo! It's me. Yeah, I heard Maurice did an all right job.
Listen. He was gunning for your seat. He's coming in hot, but he might have a little bit more work to do. But we might bring him back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it has something to do with him not having thumbs. I think that's one of his biggest downsides.
You know, people would say that having opposable thumbs is a huge advantage, biologically speaking. So,
no.
You know.
But I do appreciate him stepping in. I was really busy doing mountains of cocaine. Just mountains and mountains, like Scarface level, comical levels of cocaine.
Did you meet the bear?
It was good.
Too?
No, I did. I could have made a cocaine bear reference, which is much more modern, but instead I went with a Scarface reference.
I appreciate it. Scarface is a timeless
which is
reference,
almost,
though.
what, is 40, 50 years old now?
Oh my gosh. That's actually banana. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's old. Either way, Al Pacino,
back.
He's the man. Hoo-ha!
No, okay.
You got a great ass. That's the guy.
That's Al. There it is.
That's Mr. Pacino himself. Mr. Pachinko himself.
I wonder if Al likes our beverage that we're speaking of today. We're talking about one of the first legal drugs that you could take a sip of, caffeine, aka tea. Yeah. In case you guys forgot, tea, what we're talking about today, has caffeine in it. Who would have thought?
It does.
It does.
It does have caffeine.
How do you feel about tea time, Tim? What, do you like tea? Do you hate it? Do you love it?
Yeah, my nickname in high school was Tea Time Tim, but for a different reason. I'll leave that ambiguous. No need to explain.
That's a solid nickname.
No need to explain. No, dude, I love tea, man. I have tea all the time. I actually am more privy to decaf tea because it is something that I like. It's something that I relate more to like mellowing out with than I do energy. There was a moment in my life where I had a real kick for English breakfast tea and like Irish breakfast tea. So like the really like the caffeinated stuff and Earl Grey as well. It's like really caffeinated. So there was a time where I was really liking the like morning tea routine for no reason at all. I wasn't like trying to get off coffee. Like for some reason I was just in the mood for tea, and so
That's awesome.
I was drinking that for a while. So I'm a big fan. I do enjoy it. I'm on a really big coffee kick as of recent. Like I am.
Understandably though.
Yeah, I am just. Like I go in and out of like energy drinks, coffee, and tea. I just like swap the three. Like where am I getting my caffeine source from? And right now it is coffee.
Right now it's coffee.
2 cups in the morning, and I'm just like craving it by the evening. I'm like, I could really go for some coffee.
At least some like decaf for sure at the evening time, right?
Yeah, I have a bag of decaf.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Always.
On deck. So all right. So we'll keep it very simple, mostly because I just like couldn't really be creative. Tea has 3 letters in its name.
Holy shit!
So on a scale of 1 to 3,
Hold on. When was the Boston Tea Party event? Google that right now.
I'm like the Boston Tea Party. I'm like, Boston Tea Party. We'll talk about it. I'm like, I think I should have the date in here for the Boston. No, I just have the Boston Tea Party. The Townsend Acts was on 1767. So the Boston Tea Party probably happened in like 1767, if not 1768.
All right. So out of 1767.
Yeah. We'll go with that.
What is my rating? That was me That was editor and like producer Tim being like, no way I'm about to do a rating out of 3.
Yes, you are. A very simple scale.
So I'm gonna do 1767. How about that?
Fantastic. Okay.
From a scale from 1 to 1767. Where do I rank tea? 1,000.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not as I have a thing where I don't like to talk super negative about food. And so I know it sounded like I enjoyed it quite a bit. But like Tea's just not something I'm usually going for these days. I mean, I grew up in the South, and obviously we have that thing called sweet tea that everyone is in love with. That I just don't. I just don't care. Like I grew up drinking sweet tea, and I just it's fine. Like it's whatever.
Sad. Okay.
So just tea in general, it's like it's fine.
Okay. Fair. Okay. I was just say right now I'll have coffee in the morning, but I'll have a tea in the evening.
Oh, do you do a tea tea? Do you make a tea tea?
I do make a tea tea. Yeah. Chai tea.
Okay. Yeah.
Wait. Oh wait, that's the same thing.
It's the same word.
Literally, like you're just repeating the same. You don't say hi. You know what I'm saying? When you greet, maybe you do. Maybe you do when you greet people.
Well, some people do. Yeah.
Yeah. Coffee.
You don't say coffee. That's
coffee. No, we don't do that. So chai when you order it next time, just get a chai latte. They're gonna know it's tea.
I think I'm gonna try and order it coffee going forward.
They'd be like, do you need an extra espresso shot? That's what they're going to be like. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, can I get a coffee? And they're going to be like,
yes.
Espresso? Espresso? No. Coffee. No, coffee. I want a slow drip with my slow drip, please.
Thank you. Yes. Extra slow drip with my slow drip. Yeah. So that's...
Whatever your slow drip is now, make it slower. Please.
If you take anything from this episode, it's the chai tea.
Yeah, just say chai latte.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's get into tea. I derailed us.
So let's tea.
Well, let's take a break.
Not really my cup of tea. Mainly because I don't like huge pieces of shit in my tea.
Welcome back.
Great. Let's get into it. So let's talk about tea. We're going to be taking a journey across the globe. So first and foremost, what is tea? It's a great question, Tea Time Tim. Tea is a beverage that is produced by steeping leaves and leaf buds of the tea plant, Camellia sinensis, in freshly boiled water. Leaves may be fermented or left unfermented, and we'll get to that part later. But yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Tea is just a plant that we boil in hot water, and then there are different processes that go with that. But we will get into that as we go onto this podcast.
Knowing that my nickname in high school was Tea Time Tim, I want you to take that definition that you just heard, listener, and I want you to figure out why I'm known as Tea Time Tim. Take the definition you just heard of what tea is, what tea time involves, and be like, why the fuck would anybody call somebody Tea Time Tim? And I'll leave that up to you guys to figure out.
That's what this entire episode's actually about.
It's little Easter tea leaves just left to,
There we go. Yeah. Tea leaves that are left for the reader to listener.
The reader, yeah. Yep. No, the reader.
The reader.
They're reading this.
The readers are contextualized.
Yeah, they're reading it.
Let's go to China, shall we?
Yeah, let's do
it. Okay. Camellia sinensis originated specifically around the intersection of influence of lands between southwest China, Tibet, North Burma, and northeast India. It's said that tea was drank by the Han Dynasty emperors as early as the 2nd century BC, but written records in a mass spectrometry have suggested that tea was probably drank earlier than that. The first known reference to boiling tea came from the Han Dynasty work, The Contract for a Youth, written by Wang Bao. Tea drinking likely began in the Yunnan province during the Shang Dynasty, 1500 BC to 1046 BC, as a medicinal drink. From there, the drink spread to Sichuan, and from there, it became something that was used as a stimulant rather than just a medical concoction. So far, we were using it for medicinal values. Like a lot of things, I feel like that started out. It was used as a medicine and then slowly made the shift to just regular, everyday consumption. Around the same time in 2737 BC, one popular Chinese legend, so it's Emperor Shennong, was drinking a bowl of just boiled water because there was a decree that everyone had to boil the water before they drink it. So a few leaves came into the bowl, into the water, and it changed the color and the taste because, again, it's boiling water. And then from there, the emperor was like, oh my goodness, like this is incredible. And he was like, I feel great. He felt restored. And then from then on, he was like, listen, this is the antidote. This is what Travis Scott was actually talking about. Apparently tea was going to help fix any ailments that you might have. If you had an encounter with something poisonous, as long as you had some tea or you were like eating the tea leaves, that would save you. and that would counteract the poison.
What was the time frame for this again?
So
you said it was...
This one was 2737 BC.
Yeah, so imagine you're living in 2737 BC, and a leaf fell into your hot water, and you felt like Superman after you drank. They didn't even know what Superman was, but you felt like...
invincible.
You just felt invigorated.
Just jacked.
Like you were just like, wow, I could fuck the world right now. And like, yeah, your conclusion to that is, yeah, it fixes everything.
Everything's better.
Your conclusion to that is like, dude, I bet like right now, if I got poisoned, I would be able to just eat this leaf and it would fucking fix me.
Everything
right
would
now.
be better. No.
That's like that's the takeaway.
That's like probably one of my more favorite legends of tea. Another one is from the Tang Dynasty. This one's kind of morbid. In this legend, the Bodhidharma, the founder of Chan Buddhism, accidentally fell asleep after meditating in front of a wall for 9 years. Apparently, he woke up in such disgust at his weakness that he cut off his eyelids, and then those eyelids formed. They like took root, and they started the tea leaves. Like the tea leaves formed from the eyelids that were chopped off. That one stresses me out.
That's fun.
Yeah,
that's fun.
That one's a lot. Yeah.
Bro fell asleep. I just love. So I just love that, like, his level of discipline was like, man, I'm disappointed I fell asleep for staring at a wall. And it's like, dude, how many of us fall asleep with, like, the TV on?
Absolutely. Like, something actually happening in front of you.
Yeah, the amount of people that are like, yeah, I can't watch movies, I just pass out. And I'm like, you just pass out? Like, what do you mean? It's a movie. It's
things happening.
It's like, like, things are happening. No, this dude just stared at a wall for 9 years and then, like, was mad he passed out. And then his eyelids are tea leaves, I think, is what you said?
Yeah, the eyelids are tea leaves.
That's cool. That's a fun little...
That is a fun... Yeah. Again, wow, morbid. Just, I like the other one better. But, so, tea's produced in this...
Well, the other one sounds exactly like what you would imagine when we talk about, like if you don't do the research and you just like are like, I wonder how people like started eating eggs. It sounds closer to like what people think is like a food just appeared and they ate it and then they were like, oh yeah, this is good. You know what I mean? That's what that sounds like. So no. I agree. That one's the better one.
Also, this guy, cut his eyelids off. Terrifying. Just think of that.
Oh, that doesn't bother me that much.
You don't think
I don't care about that.
Okay, no, I'm just imagining someone with no eyelids staring back at me, and I'm just, I'm not personally having a good time.
Yeah, like that old like creepypasta from like 10 years ago or whatever. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's creepy, but like it's whatever.
You're like, it's fine. It's fine. So yeah, teas produced in this period were mainly tea bricks, which were often used as currency, especially further from the center of the empire where coins lost their value.
Dang.
So wild to me. So yeah, the tea leaves were like steamed and they were pounded into like a brick or like caked into a brick form. And then that's what they would use to trade.
Yeah, that's what's up.
That's what's up.
Bring back the tea bricks.
Yeah, I think we should do that. The further you get away from the epicenter, you should just start more bartering and trading and
the epicenter.
The epicenter of
you
the
mean
empire.
New York City, L?
Hey now.
That's where all the stuff happens in every film. So
that is true.
That's got to be the epicenter.
Don't tell our friends on the West Coast though. I might get upset with you on that. Okay, so the Song Dynasty. This is when the means of production and preparation of tea changed. So this is a big deal, right? Okay, so the tea usually included loose leaf styles to preserve the delicate character favored by court society, and it's the origin of today's loose leaf in the practice of brewed tea that we have today. And then from this, also like a powdered form of tea emerged. Steaming tea leaves were the primary process used for centuries in the preparation of tea. After the transition from compressed tea to the powdered form, the production of tea for trade and distribution changed once again. So then, mid-13th century, where tea leaves were roasted and then crumbled rather than steamed. By the Yuan and Ming dynasties, unfermented tea leaves were first pan-fried, then rolled and dried. That stops the oxidation process, which turns the leaves dark green and allows tea to remain green. And then in the 15th century, oolong tea, where the tea leaves were allowed to partially ferment before pan frying, was developed. We'll talk about oolong a little bit later, but that is kind of the beginnings of that process and what that looked like in tea and its journey throughout China.
Damn, that's so many different ways to make tea.
This is one country, which is
yeah.
We could I mentioned this earlier, but tea really is just an over-encompassing beverage of the entire world, and each you could dive in and figure out how each region makes their tea because it's all different. It's really cool. It's really cool to see that, and it's just one of the few things in the world that clearly has been around for as long as we can think. I mean, or to fathom, Now that we've left China in a very compact tea leaf, let's make our way to Japan.
Right, let's do it.
During the Sui dynasty in China, tea was introduced to Japan by Buddhist monks. Tea use spread during the 6th century, and then tea became a drink of the religious classes. This sounds familiar. In Japan, when Japanese priests and envoys sent it to China to learn about their culture, and then they obviously brought it back. Then in 1191, Zen priest Asai introduced tea seeds to Kyoto. Some of the tea seeds were given to the priest Moi Shoin, and that became the basis for uji tea, which uji tea is essentially Japanese green tea.
Oh.
Yeah, so here now we've got green tea enters the mix. So green tea became a staple among cultured people in Japan. Production grew and tea became increasingly accessible, right? That's how that always happens. And so even though a mostly privileged upper class of Japanese people enjoy tea, it slowly started to make its way through the masses. In fact, there was a tea ceremony that was introduced from China from about the 15th century by Buddhists, and that was became a semi-religious social custom. The beverage and the ceremony surrounding it played a prominent role in feudal diplomacy. And then, of course, by the 20th century, machine and manufacturing of green tea was introduced, and that began replacing pretty much the handmade cultivation process of the tea.
Yep. The robots, they took our job.
They took our job. Yeah, they're handling green tea. So that was China and Japan. Now we're going more west, which is wild because we're just going to India. But this is where a lot of the things happen, if you will. So
yeah.
Yep,
India has a way about it.
Somehow, some way. So before the British decided to take over India's means of productions, it's said that India used a tea plant for medicinal purposes. Sound familiar? Like many of the Chinese monks. The native Singpo and Khamti peoples validate that India had been consuming tea at least since the 12th century, but it wasn't until commercial production of tea in India, which didn't arrive until the British East India Trading Company came in. At that point, they were buying out large plots of land and they were converting them for mass tea production. So if we got to settle that score, tea was already being produced in India. China at this point is a massive producer of tea, and Britain was like, we want in on this. And so they took over India's lands, and they were like, hey, can you guys make tea for us? So this is
that's how they phrased it too. They were like, hey, you mind making some tea for us? They definitely weren't like, yo, make tea.
You're actually doing this. Initially they used Chinese seeds, they used Chinese planting and cultivating techniques, and then they offered land to people in India, but they would obviously have to export tea.
Make tea.
Yeah, that's what their goal was. But anyone would be able to come, but you would be exporting tea. That is your job.
Right.
Which is...
Would you do it?
I don't think I would.
You wouldn't?
I don't think so.
I'd probably do it.
There's more options on this weird Oregon Trail game. Just wait. No, you're taking the Somme.
I'll wait.
You're taking... Okay.
This feels like that might be the best option. I don't know.
So the British introduced tea culture into India in 1836, into Sri Lanka in 1867. They first used seeds from China, as I mentioned earlier, but later they started using the seeds that they had started to cultivate that were starting to be pretty much grown in Assam. Only black tea was produced until recently, when India was producing in green tea for exporting in Central Asia, Afghanistan, and neighboring countries. And then at one point, they were the top producer of tea for nearly a century, but they were displaced by China in the 21st century. Indian tea companies have now acquired a number of foreign tea enterprises, though, including Lipton, Tetley, Twinings, and Typho, which are all British brands. So I guess it kind of came full circle there by the end of it. But again, the Brits play a huge role in this. So now we're going to England. Now we're even going even more west.
England.
Isn't it? It's Tuesday, isn't it? Yeah, you guys knew that was coming. You knew we were going to have to say.
England.
Yeah.
London.
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 God save the king. Now, weird. Okay. Obviously, Great Britain was selling their tea in other countries that was exported from other countries not named Great Britain. They created a monopoly on tea early on, and their global influence impacted the trade of tea on the world. So, 1657, Thomas Garway, a tobacconist and a coffee man, was the first to sell tea in London at his house in Exchange Alley, charging between 16 to 50 shillings per pound. I'm like, I feel like that's kind of high, but, you know, whatever.
That means nothing. Those words mean nothing to me.
Shillings, man. Shillings per pound.
Yeah, none of that.
It's
None of that. You just said words. Syllables came out of your mouth, and I was like, cool, man.
It's a super common currency, shillings. Then in 1662, the marriage of King Charles II to the Portuguese princess Catherine of Braganza brought the tea drinking habit to court. Official trade of tea began in 1664, and by 1801, they were able to bring in 24 million pounds per year, and that's monies. Right. That's the monies that they were making from exporting tea, which is like an unfathomable amount considering that was 1664.
Right. Yeah. That's
like,
a lot.
That's stupid. Okay.
That's a lot of shillings.
It's a lot of shillings. As we saw, you know,
did I do that right? England? I don't know.
Tea was initially the delight of all the elite classes. It was so expensive that it was kept under lock and key in elegant things called tea caddies. Absurd. It's such a British thing to do. As prices dropped, tea made its way down the social ladder, and it abided by class structure as well, right? So you had low tea, which was served mid-afternoon, and that was accompanied by savories such as scones and dainty sandwiches. So this was like the well-to-do society that had low tea time, right? And then the working class.
Not talking about peasants.
No, we're not talking about the plebs here.
Yeah, my bad. Working class.
A working class.
PC here.
That's what
we're professionals.
The peasants had high tea, which is their main meal, and that was served at the end of the working day around 6 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
High tea at the main meal. Okay. It was just tea. They only drank tea.
It was just tea. It was just the tea. And then
they were paid in bad beer and tea bricks,
yes.
and they were to munch on the tea bricks and eat the bread from the bad beer.
Yes.
I was there.
I hope you guys love it.
Jeez
Louise. So coffee houses, which again, in case you guys don't remember from the coffee episode, they were in there before tea. So coffee houses became tea shops, and then some of them got so busy that you would have to pay like a little extra on the side to get served. We call that a tip today. Boom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of where that idea came from. Like, hey, I'll pay a little something so you can get me what I need faster. So yeah, that's how that kind of started, which is wild to me.
Yeah.
But next stop on the British World Tour. Yeah, that tea. We're going to North America, baby. We're coming over to the States. It's said that colonists arrived in New Amsterdam, aka New York, and they were the first to introduce tea on American soil. New York, New York. Clients of Thomas Sullivan, whom they ordered tea from, accidentally steeped the silk bags that were used to package the tea, and from there, tea bags were born.
Hey.
So now we're exporting. Yeah, now we're like little tea bags, the small ones.
Yeah.
Like what we know and see today. Yeah, the ones we see today. And
they were made of silk at first, or did they like change up the the packaging?
Well, so initially, the guy, Mr. Thomas, he put the tea in the silk bags.
In silk.
Because it looked nice, right? And he was like, oh, this is nice. But the clients were like, oh, shoot. And so they just put the silk bags in the water, thinking that's what they were supposed to do. So then initially they were like, okay, yeah, we'll keep the silk. But then that kind of became too expensive.
Yeah, I was going to say, no shot they just like kept rolling with silk when paper was invented.
So initially it was like they were, and they did, but then the cost became too high, and they're like, this isn't sustainable.
For sure.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if we still got tea bags
How wonderful.
Silk? Little silk pouches?
I would probably drink tea more often just for the cute little bags.
I would hate it. Like, that would be so expensive. No way.
We're not factoring that into this right now, though. We're just.
Oh, I am.
Okay. In that case, no, we couldn't do it. Yeah. So tea became a huge part of American culture, just in the exact way that you would expect it, as it had to come across the pond. So how else do most drinks get integrated into American culture? Alcoholic beverages. Yep.
Hot toddy.
People were making alcoholic punch with tea. That was like their like mixer of choice. So Philadelphia Fish House Punch, which was around in the 1700s, it had green tea and Arak, which is a rum-like liquor from South Asia, and then there was citrus juice, sugar, champagne, brandy, and rum. Okay, yeah, that's all you would need probably.
That is a punch.
That's a punch right there in the face. So then American culture began to shift when the British government introduced the Townshend Acts in 1767. So tea was taxed as part of these laws, which made it less affordable for the American people. However, cheaper tea was still smuggled into America. This led to, drumroll please, the Boston Tea Party, where tea was dumped into the Boston Harbor, and other public protests of shipments of tea. I'm going to explain this because per our TCAP scores, looks like we might need it. As a consequence, tea drinking became unpatriotic. Boycotts of tea led to an increase in consumptions of other beverages such as coffee or herbal teas, which were infused with peppermint, sage, or dandelions.
Yeah.
And then this is where it gets a little sweet. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. So 1795, South Carolina was one of the first places in the U.S. where tea was grown, and it's probably one of the only states in the U.S. where tea was actually produced commercially. And this is kind of where quote-unquote sweet tea is born. But we saw from recipe books just previously that sweet tea or iced tea has been around, pretty much going up the coast and then down to the southeast, and then obviously making it all its way to Texas. Louisiana. So just that little inverted L of the coast of the United States is kind of where sweet tea was around for. It wasn't really until 1876 when we saw the first non-alcoholic quote unquote iced tea in a recipe book. And then a few years later, we got the official like sweet tea where you would, make it and then put it away. This is kind of where, which later on we'll kind of talk about it, but that's kind of where like the refrigeration process kicked in. Because then people could start, they could make their own. You're not having to go somewhere and, buy bottled teas or lemonades, because you could just make it at home and refrigerate it.
Yeah.
So, of course, I don't know how, but like never fails. We're going to Chicago, great American city, and we're going to the 1893 World's Fair again. So this is like
dude, the World's Fair at different times just was like the innovator.
It was
we're at the 1892 one.
We're at the 1893 one, but there's like a lot. There's some war around it, but we're gonna also be going to the 1904 one with this. That one was the one,
and then back to the 1904 one. Yeah, the St. Louis one.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So 1893, the Chicago World's Fair showed off the sweet or like iced tea. The booth brought in $2,000, so we think. Richard Bletchton, the official concessionaire, which I didn't know that was a word, for the World's Fair, claims that they had iced tea at their booth. But apparently there's like no record of this man having any sort of sweet tea at their booth at all. So everyone's like, what are you talking about? But at the 1904 World's Fair, our guy was there, and he was like, sweet tea. And they're like, wait a second. What do you mean? So there's kind of a
discrepancy.
Discrepancy on which World's Fair that sweet tea was introduced at. But the important part is, for our sake, is that it was introduced at a World's Fair. It's either Chicago or St. Louis, which we know there's been so much innovation regarding food at both of those things. Both of those, yeah.
Yeah, that 1904. Like, it's almost to the point where, like, it almost seems like mythical, that 1904 World's Fair. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't do the research, so maybe you're more privy to, like, saying that the 1904 one is actually where sweet tea was, but, like, it almost feels like maybe we should give it up for the Chicago one on this one, because it's just like, golly, how many foods at the 1904? It's like fucking waffle cones, like ketchup, like so many of those things were like shown as like
random staple
something that was consumed, like yellow mustard.
Yes.
That was a thing at 1904. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like every fucking thing, apparently. It's just crazy.
It's wild to me. We make sure that say that. So fast forward, we're in Prohibition, which I didn't realize had anything to do with tea, but it affected tea as well. Clubs and hotels were looking for substitutes to hard liquor sales, and they started gravitating towards strong iced teas or virgin fruit punches, beverages with the bonus of being flavorful but legal. So that's kind of where the lean back into tea.
Can you see why high-end places started going bankrupt?
Yes.
it's because they were like, yeah, we'll serve hard tea. Oh, you guys got the illegal shit in it? No. It's just that we let it steep until it like develops tannins and becomes like undrinkable. You know how you're supposed to let it steep for like 3 minutes, 3 to 5? No, we just let it go overnight, so it's bitter and weird and gross.
See the taste; it tastes so different. No, but yeah. So then we kind of get into
it tastes so strong.
We get into the refrigeration. Like I had mentioned earlier, we can finally kind of making it at home, however much you want. Then in World War II, the war cut off trade from China and Japan, which were major suppliers of green tea. So Americans were just sipping on the black tea, which were from India, which of course were supplied by our British allies. And then, you kind of fast forward, 1946, Nestle USA introduced the first instant tea, Nestea. And then instant teas are produced from black tea by extracting the liquor from the processed portion of the tea and then dehydrated and then packaged up. So that is America in a nutshell.
Pretty much. And then from there
tea leaf.
Yeah.
I wanted to quickly mention these teas because there's different types of teas. Some of them you are probably like familiar with, some of them maybe not. The indigenous Americans' caffeinated beverage of choice was a holly-based tea known as Cassina. It's also known as Yupon. It's a close relative of the South American holly-based tea yerba mate. Maybe some people have heard of that. So Yupon, it's a holly-based indigenous to the southeast United States and happens to be North America's only known caffeinated plant. Native caffeinated plant, I should say.
Right, yeah.
So the native Temecula tribe that lived on the southern Georgia, northern Florida line, they dubbed it it was dubbed the black drink by the Spanish explorers because of the tea's dark hue. Yupon's native environment spans the Atlantic coast from Virginia to Florida along to the Gulf of Mexico all the way to West Texas. Really wild to me. It was pretty much the same idea, like it had a fruity, earthy aroma, and then it stimulated your mind, had some caffeine in it, and it provided a jitter-free mental clarity with an ease to the stomach. And then it's still grown, like, today in the United States. Like, you'll see it in, like, rural suburban area, forests, coastal islands, stuff like that. You can even see it, like, landscaping.
Its close cousin yerba mate is really popular.
Yerba mate,
right now.
Yes, okay, of course.
Really popular. Like you mentioned that it was like similar to that. That's probably one of the fastest growing like caffeine drinks right now.
That's wild. Okay. See.
Yeah, wow. It's super popular. They have like sparkling ones, not sparkling ones.
Of course.
Like,
okay.
Yeah. It's really really popular because it's just like I don't know, man. There's I don't know. There's like a health and wellness angle to it.
Of course, always,
like,
yeah.
It's cleaner, blah,
cleaner
blah,
caffeine.
Blah, blah, blah. And it's
yeah.
like, bro, it's caffeine. It's got some sugar in it. It's like, whatever. Just drink it because it's good. And they are tasty.
Okay, that's a plus. Okay.
I mean, it's a tea beverage. It's a tea beverage. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
you can't go wrong.
Yeah, it's good.
It's
got that like fruitiness, that leafiness. It's good.
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna try it. Yupon is associated with Native American purification ceremonies, and at one point it was traded to Europe, where it was popularly sold in London as South Seas tea, and then it was served in Parisian salons as Appalachian.
Okay.
Which sounds fancy as hell. Then we have oolong. Yeah, right. Of course. We have oolong tea, which I mentioned earlier, which is black dragon tea. It's oolong. Oolong. It's a specialty of southern China. And then it's got this, it's like fully oxidized, which is where it gets that black tea idea from. Mm-hmm. And then to make fermented tea, the leaves are plucked from the plant, left to wither until they've lost some 2/3 of their water content, and then rolled to break down their cell walls. And then after this, the crushed leaves are allowed to ferment, and then aka just oxidize, just like in the air. That's essentially all it is. And as the leaves react to that, to the amino acids in the air. And then black tea is fermented for about 2 or 4 hours, as to Tim's point earlier. Green tea is barely fermented at all. And oolong tea is typically fermented for an hour or 2. So to kind of give you an idea of the levels of fermentation that you can apply. And then the leaves are completely dried over a fire or in an oven, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And then they say, like, because of the process, it will, like, these chemicals called catechins are altered. They produce antioxidants that are beneficial to the human body, which is, to your point earlier, like, this idea of, like, the clean. That's why tea is being leaned into, is, like, this clean, quote-unquote, energy, because of the chemical reactions that are happening, in theory, are supposed to be a more natural reaction.
Because of antioxidants. Yeah, because of antioxidants.
Like...
Yeah.
And so
fun buzzword.
Such a fun buzzword. And so I mean, you literally go down like the health and like the energy
it's got
drink
free radicals.
Yeah. So many antioxidants.
It's got free radicals. Yeah.
Like,
it can help it can help your free radicals, which helps you not have cancer. It's like, okay, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Sure.
Healthy caffeine.
Sure, drinking this tea is gonna do that.
Yeah. No, right. And that was also one of the things that I noticed, like, for most of these teas, like, they, not to say that there won't be any, but there hasn't really been like conclusive hard evidence to say that these teas are going to greatly benefit or greatly impact your health in such a way that's going to help you like get over the hill in some way, when it's just like
no I bet you we won't ever get any conclusive evidence that it'll do it.
There's no like there's no way. Yeah. So yeah,
it's food, man. It's food. I don't know what to tell you. It's just a drink. I don't know what to tell you. It's like, just enjoy it for what it is. It's a drink.
Speaking of food,
antioxidants.
It's
got antioxidants and free radicals.
Okay, put that on a t-shirt. So we got bubble tea, which it's also something that's like blown up. So bubble tea, it's also called boba tea or black pearl tea. It's combining tea, milk, and quote unquote bubbles, which is like chewy, gelatinous, usually tapioca.
Yeah.
But it can be fruit jelly, but it's usually tapioca.
Yeah, they do have their fruit jelly ones now. They can like munch on it and burst open.
Yeah.
Which one do you like? I'm privy to the tapioca classic. Boba.
I don't think I've had a good experience with the boba tea. Maybe you can change that for me. But I'm going to say neither. You don't
like boba, I guess.
Okay, maybe I don't. But yeah, I didn't have a good experience. I'm
gonna be honest with you, that's hard to fuck up. Like,
noted.
Almost every like granted, I've had some that are better like tasting than others, but in terms of like the actual boba, I don't think I've ever had any bad like bubble tea.
Okay, all right.
It's just it's like it's like fruit milk tea, and it has tapioca balls at the bottom. It's great.
I don't know if I like tapioca like that. Maybe that's what it is.
Don't.
Yeah, maybe I don't. I don't know. Maybe I need to try them separately, but I feel like that's not the point.
Yeah.
I feel like that kind of defeats the purpose. But yeah, so it really started in like the 1980s. That was like kind of when like the big boom of it happened. But you can kind of trace it back to 1949. There was an entrepreneur Chang Fen Shu, and developed a tea that was shaken in a martini mixer to create a foamy surface. It was called handshaken Shu Yao tea and served cold. The result was a luxury item that was not widely accessible to most Taiwanese until the economic boom of the 1980s. So then in 1986, another entrepreneur, Tu Zong, added fenyan or tapioca balls to the green tea, and then they opened up a Thai shop or a tea shop in Tiananmen, Taiwan. So again, relatively a new thing that's taken on the world, but has the roots of tea. A new take. New take.
No. And in the States it's blown up a lot.
Yes.
Just because obviously it's like, and that's a good example of a modern thing, like a modern thing growing and like expanding, essentially. Right. It's because like that started in the 80s. I bet you'd be hard pressed to find like a fucking boba shop in the States in the 80s.
Right.
So, like,
probably not.
It probably took a little bit of time. And even then when it got here, I mean, boba's kind of like the last 10, 15? Is when in the States it's like really, really blown up. So,
at this point, it's
a new item.
It is
a relatively new item for us.
Speaking of new items for us, kombucha.
Oh yeah,
like you want to? Like we have a place to get that shit on tap.
I love kombucha.
So good.
Yeah.
But it's another fermented black or green tea. I mean, it just however you want to go with that flow, whatever flavor you're feeling. But it's like the same idea of the fermentation process, but you're adding in microorganisms. You've got yeast, bacteria. But it's mostly used as a probiotic drink. And it's got like a little bit of like a sour, like vinegary flavor to it, depending. But like some I feel like
very vinegary taste to it.
I feel like I'm not.
I love introducing people. I love introducing people to kombucha because because kombucha is very much a quote unquote health and wellness trend.
Yes.
I do not care about the health benefits, if there are any, of drinking kombucha. I don't care. I just think it tastes good. Like, it's a fermented beverage, so it has that yeast taste to it that I fucking love. It has a vinegary thing going on that I fucking love, and it's tea with fruit. Like,
you can't go wrong with it.
It's literally fruit. Like, it's usually fermented with different fruit juices or just whole fruits and tea leaves with like a scoba at the bottom, right? And like you burp it over time until it's fully fermented, and then that's where the carbonation comes from. Although I'm sure that the mass-produced stuff has added carbonation to it because
there's no way
they typically do. Yeah, there's no way they don't. But like, you give somebody who doesn't know like what kombucha is going to taste like, and it's just the funniest thing in the world. Because it's just like, oh, this is fucking gross. Like, why do people talk about kombucha so much? And it's like, I don't know, man. You just get into it.
It's mind-blowing.
You just get into it, and you like it. It blew up so much, though, that like the quality dipped a lot. Yeah. I mean, you just got to really go to like, pretty much it's the GT's kombucha is the shit. Any place that does house kombucha is typically pretty good. And then also, what's it? I think it's like the Brew-Aid, I think is the other one that I really like. And they have like the cool little like square looking short kind of bottles.
Ooh, okay.
They're fantastic too. Don't get the Kavita brand. That shit is trash. It's owned by Nestle. I'm not kidding. Okay. If you look on the back of that, like, no sponsorships from Nestle. If you look at the back of that thing, if like, kombucha is a thing that you could just read the ingredients and tell if they're actually making kombucha or if they're just making like sour carbonated tea. And Kavita's doing that. It's literally just like there's nothing in it. It's literally just citric acid. It's literally just citric acid, water, and like tea. That's all it is. There's no fermentation, like nothing. Like it's trash, garbage.
That just made some like Arizona sweet tea, and they're like,
It's straight up just like sweet fruit tea that has citric acid and carbonation. That's it. That's all it is. And they sell it in the kombucha aisle. And you're like, what the fuck is that?
That's wild. I didn't know that they sold it in the kombucha aisle. That's misleading as hell. Okay.
Yeah. It's garbage.
Okay. Noted. Thank you for that. I'm never going to try that brand. I thought it was interesting that we can say like kombucha originated from China, but no one knows where exactly. Like people are like along the Silk Road, which I think is kind of fun because Silk Road is just this massive trade route. So like somewhere in China along the Silk Road, someone somewhere made kombucha. So that's fun.
Someone somewhere fucked up.
They did, and they're like, wait, this is actually good and I don't feel terrible. I did see though that if you drink too much kombucha, like you can develop like holes in your liver and like right, like it's super acidic.
Don't drink too much kombucha.
You can't drink a lot of it.
Yeah.
Ironically, as people are like health kick, and it's like, but yes, but within reason.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
yeah, dude. I mean, I don't know. It's even with like, and you know, I'm a proponent of diet sodas, man.
Yes,
I like diet sodas, but like, you still got to drink just like water.
Yeah, you still need to drink water every so often. Like your body does function on water. Like you need water to carry blood to your I know, mind blowing, but you need water to carry blood to your cells because that's how you can move and function and be a human being.
You still need water.
It's crazy. I know, like it's mind blowing, and fiber.
Yeah, is kombucha the worst for you? No, it's probably it probably can help some people like drop their soda kick a little bit, right? Like
definitely
it's
would.
carbonated, it's fizzy, it's fruity. Like it's got a lot of flavor behind it, so it can kind of hit those things that maybe carbonated water can't, where it's just like straight up, the sparkling waters.
Yeah.
But like, but still, drink water. Don't be weird.
Don't be weird. Yeah. Speaking of energy, matcha tea. This is the last one. It actually came from Japan and around the 1100s by another Zen Buddhist monk who was returning from study in China. He brought tea seeds with him and established a practice called the Way of Tea, by which the perfect preparation of tea became an exercise of devotion that honored the beauty found among the otherwise flawed world. How beautiful. Combining the Japanese words matsu, to rub, to dab, to paint, and cha, tea. So matcha contains more caffeine than any of the other green teas.
Yeah, it does.
It's one of the more to your point earlier, it's one of the more expensive teas to produce. So like there's a very strong possibility that the matcha that we get isn't necessarily like, you just need to make sure and check that it's 100% actually matcha and not just added extra shit.
Yeah. Matcha's also really strong. So like it's okay that it's more expensive because you shouldn't really be like using a lot of it.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot for that to sort of like hit you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the buzz on matcha is real. Mm-hmm. Like that shit's high powered. So.
we really be buzzing. But yeah, Tim, that's tea. It's a pretty expansive run, and like I had mentioned earlier, it's one of those. We could be here for hours and just talk about the different types of regional tea that you can have and the different ingredients that people use to make their tea and how they make your tea. I mean, you go to Middle East, you might have seen videos of it. Like they'll have they're essentially like making tea in sand, right? So they've got their container and the sand's heating up, and so there's just so many different ways again, and how it's just progressed throughout the world. So I just think it's interesting that I don't know. I don't think of tea as being anything too special, but like joke's on me because tea is actually a very, very impactful beverage.
Tea. Yeah, there's a lot going on there, and we could spend hours, but I have a dinner to get to, so we're not going to do that. Teas. That was awesome. That was fun. Tons of different places we just went to in a relatively short period of time in between me derailing us.
Get that passport.
I guess this is the point where I give my updated score. I'm gonna bump it up to 1,200.
Yeah, we'll take that positive net.
Yeah, I think, you know what? I'll go 300. We'll go to 1,300. I think, like you said, tea is something you don't think much of, but now I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, fuck, I actually forgot that, like, kombucha is tea, and I really do like kombucha. Mm-hmm. Granted, I don't drink it as much as I used to now, but, like, I do like kombucha, and I'll have that more frequently. I did actually just have, like, boba, like, a couple months back.
Okay.
I love boba, too, so, like, I'm really into that. I went on a matcha kick when that was, like, really, really popular. And then, I actually had a couple cans of, like, the Pure Gold yerba mate.
Love it, okay.
Originals in my fridge probably 4 months ago. So, like, I'm a big, tea's good, and I'm never, like, disappointed when I have it. So it's, it deserves a little bit more love than my original 1,000.
Yes.
So 1,300 is where I'm going to go. We have a new segment this season that started on episode 3. Or 2. I can't remember. I don't know if Elle's prepared, but I'm prepared. The new segment is Wreck My Beehole, and it's where we give our wrecks. Elle, what's your wreck this week?
My recommendation this week is, this is gonna be super random, but it's gonna be go to do something outside. Highly, it's one of the, but it's like, if you can, go to like a minor league baseball game. Tickets are like $10. Yeah, go hang out, get a hot dog, get your friends to go.
Go play pickleball. It's the fastest growing sport in the country. Go play
pickleball. Yeah, so that's what I recommend. You know, we're getting to that summertime. School's about to get out. So
that's a good rec.
Yeah,
that's a good rec.
What about you?
Yeah, my recommendation is gonna be music related. Spoon just dropped a new song. Spoon is a band. Oh, no way. Spoon is an old band. They've been around for like 20 years or something like that. Okay. So it's weird to like wreck an old band, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So Spoon has been probably one of my favorite bands since like 2010-ish, I think. I think they're a 5-piece band.
Okay.
They typically have sort of bluesy chord progressions with piano involved, and they also just have like, you know, a nice crunch. Most of the time their guitar elements are a mix between acoustic and like a nice crunchy sort of again bluesy sort of guitar. It's not like punk rock crunchy. It's sort of like, you know, that bluesiness. And they're awesome, and they just do, I mean, they do stuff that's like radio play, and then they also do stuff that's just like weird, and I don't know. Okay. They're just a great band. I definitely recommend the 2007 album. So I recommend Spoon.
That's a good rec. I like that.
Band. That's the end of the podcast. Yeah, we did it. The music is playing right now. Probably right when I said that's the end of the podcast is usually when I kick it in. And that music was made by me. And I have a bud, Austin, that I bounce ideas off of, and he helped make the last two. Austin Martin. Check him out on Spotify under Meridian Sky.
Pretty cool.
Check him out on Spotify or Apple. And those links will be in the show notes as well. So if you go down there, you can just click those two links. It'll take you to his page. He's always making good stuff, and he's much more active in like making music than I am. So definitely go have a listen. Guys, you can also check us out. We have a website, shows.acast.com/where-does-food. You can check out that website and listen to all the episodes. They're all there. We are officially on Acast for this season and going forward. We also have Acast Plus that you can find on that website. You literally just click that, and that's a way you can support us. For $5 a month, you actually get the episodes a full day early. On your RSS feed, wherever you listen to your podcast, you can just copy that RSS feed, plug it in, and it'll link you to the paid tier playlist instead of having to listen to any sort of, you know, ads that may pop up, things like that. And that's just for $5. It's one way to support us. Another way you can support us is by, you know, hanging out with us and either emailing us at wheredoesfood@gmail.com with some suggestions and ideas of what you want to hear. And also on Twitter. We're on Twitter at wheredoesfood. We do posts whenever we drop a new episode. We're not like the most active over there, but hey, if you message us on there, I do get notified about it, so I can always, I'll always, you know, try and reach out and message back. And again, you can always just throw suggestions my way, and we'll try and fit them in. You know, we do this in seasons, so like it's only 10 episodes each season, but we try and fit them in as we go. You can also check me out on Instagram at Tim_and_Winston. Again, see that in the show notes, and you can also find Elle
at El Chapo with 3 underscores between L and Chapo on Twitter.
And yeah, she's also on Twitter, so you can check her out there. Another way you can support us that I forgot to mention is you could just like word of mouth and like
it's a pretty solid way.
Yeah, and just like play it for people. Like, you know, it's a way to do it. You can also leave us a review. These are just easier and free ways to support us. And also, you know, give us some interaction, things like that. So we are done. I believe that is it. I believe that's the plugs.
Yeah, crush it, Tim, as always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As always. All right, we'll see you later, folks.
Bye.